Hey folks, we had an interesting morning, and by interesting I mean it was going well, and then a rumor started circulating that somebody was going to fire someone, and before you knew it, we wound up with a really good move in the shorts that we had set up as the market tanked. So the rumor that Chairman Powell is going to be fired is something that circulates pretty regularly, and today the extension to the rumor was that a replacement was already being picked. Now, that term expires not too far off in the distance anyway, so I think that this is probably going to settle back in the way it has for pretty much the entire year so far. But it was really good for business. Let's just say that. Let's take a look at the charts and see if we can't figure out what's going to happen in the afternoon. So as I said, we had a morning that went from $4 per share in the room to almost $10 per share in the war room, and that kind of thing happens. Sometimes surprises happen in your favor, and today's surprise came in the form of, if you're looking at the triple Qs, we can blow this up a little bit. I know some of you have a hard time seeing this. You're watching this on phones and things, but we were in the box on those Qs, and we were just trading sideways, and we're a little bit lower in the morning, but everything was just sort of staying where it was. And then we had the rumor. And, when that happened, we had this pop down through and then this immediate rebound. We're always expecting the rebound when we get that kind of news. But, today it was just something the market didn't want to hear against the backdrop of the inflation numbers. And, inflation looked all right. And the tariff stuff is really on everybody's last nerve and scaring traders and trying to get investors figuring out, where's everything going to go. But over the course of the session, we have had some just really nice opportunities to catch some moves in some of the big boys. So today I'm going to just focus on Microsoft, since this one has popped up numerous times today. Let's take a look here at what we've been focusing on. So Microsoft has been trading in sort of these wide ranges, and this one tends to box up pretty tight. And when it does this kind of thing, we had a few opportunities today to go, first go long above the volume weighted average price, so right around in here, and those longs worked out really nicely because we had a move from 503.75 up to 504.75 effectively, and then when we had the dip, when we had the drop, we also had the pop. So we got back up into that range. When it got back up through the VWAP, had another opportunity for a 503.75 entry, and I think you're going to have it again. So if it comes back down into 503.75 a little bit later here, then I think there's a good opportunity for a long side entry. Been watching Constellation Energy. So this one is not on the Mag 7, of course, but this is definitely in play today. You can see it spent, here's your volume weighted average price for the session. And what you see going on is that all day long, this has been just persistently under that VWAP. And even the session VWAP is much lower than the intraday VWAP for the over the course of the whole thing. So session VWAP is perched right up above this pivot line. We've had a couple entry opportunities here from 306.27 all the way down to 303.18. That's a big move for that stock. That stock tends to stay in sort of a sideways channel. Have another one set up right now. There's tight exit parameters on this. If it goes 306.25, if it hits 6.70, just going to be right back out of it again. And try it a couple times. I mean, it's been a good mover down into that range there. It's pretty extended right now. So, this down here below that black pivot line says we are at second support, and it is frequently the case that stocks will reverse from there. But I think this one's in a hard sell-off, and as long as it stays under that volume by price, where I've got the pencil right there, let me just pop a little line over that. As long as it stays under these guys right here, that keeps it under this volume weighted average price, and says the momentum is still to the downside. I mean, right now it's sort of getting its legs under it, and it could be the case that it manages to move a little bit higher here and it doesn't trigger us back in, but it's doing its thing. So that one's been a pretty solid setup over the past bit here. Tesla's coming up on, we're going to hear from Tesla this week, and that's always interesting. So there's optimism around any announcements, and the stock is trading higher today, so it's up to about $320, $319.58 is where it was perched. It was, it's in this range here for a good chunk of the day, and I think that 318.49 up to $319.50, 55, somewhere in there is sort of a safe range to play. It's done it again just now, so we've had this marked up a bunch of times over the course of the day in the room, and I think right now if it comes back down and tests this trigger line here, I'm going to go ahead and give it another shot. But what I'm going to do is wait for it to dip the line and then come back into the range, because you can see there's a lot of elasticity, a lot of stuff that went on right underneath there, and whenever that's the case, history tends to repeat itself, and what you don't want to do is get caught in something that winds up moving down inside here. It's better to miss the trade, better to have a missed opportunity than to have something that just goes and blows right through you, because Tesla can really move when it gets going. Also looking at the triple Qs today, triple Qs has definitely been on the radar, in terms of just the opportunity for a trading setup. But I think if you're gonna look at the NQ, then really what you want to see is do the triple Qs, get back and stay inside a box. Let's let them shake off the geopolitical garbage here, and focus on what's coming up next. And then I guess I forgot to mention Meta. Meta is definitely in a trend move lower today. So we've got big downside price action on this one. I think that a measured move on Meta is likely if we get back up into this part of the range right here. So if we get back up into these volume by price nodes where we sort of start hitting an inflection from underneath and then get back down through that green pivot, I'm going to look at a short side entry anywhere from that 705.31 level on down. First stop I'm looking for 704.30, and then there's definitely a strong possibility of a move back down into 702.25. That one's been, it's really been whipping around quite a bit today, so if you're not comfortable with the excess volatility, probably just lay low and focus on some of these other trades. All right, so that's going to do it for today. Not a ton of setups, not a ton of things to look at, but the things that have been out there have been really, really solid, and I think the afternoon's shaping up to be really good as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, Adrian at traderinsight.com or 310-804-2248. Send me a text, please. Don't call, just send me a text, and let me know what you're thinking, and I will get right back to you. All right, have a great day.